It's been a while since I made a video, and I thought that today would be an opportune time for me to have a conversation with you about the most topical of issues, cost of living. You know, last Sunday, Lawrence Wong said at the PAP convention that the opposition was trying to exploit cost of living issues and turn people's sentiments against the PAP. And he said that the opposition had no good solutions. And he made it out to be that cost of living pressures was a global phenomenon. You know, global phenomenon, which means it affects every country. My friends, that cannot be further from the truth. And let me say this, even post-pandemic, even after the Ukrainian war started, there were countries in which inflation hardly rose. In fact, in some countries, inflation dropped. I'll give you two examples. Spain was a country in which inflation dropped. In China, inflation hardly was a feature. I will raise a third country, Switzerland, a country that Singapore likes to model itself after. And you know, it's a country which, like Singapore, does not have natural resources. And inflation, even post-pandemic, after the Ukrainian war, was never higher than 2.8% in Switzerland. Why? It is not because inflation is a global phenomenon, my friends. Inflation, to a large extent, depends on domestic political decisions made. That is the key. Don't let Lawrence Wong pull the wool over your eyes into believing that the cost of living pressures we now face, the incredible cost of living pressures, cannot be helped because these are external factors which are at play. They are not. You and I know that the present cost of living pressures in Singapore are largely caused by Lawrence Wong and the PAP policies. You know, Lawrence Wong is fast becoming, even though he's only been in the job for about 6 months, the worst prime minister in Singapore. The cost of living pressures are due primarily, in my opinion, to two factors. The crazy GST hikes he implemented in 2003 and 2004. From 7%, now it is 9%. And you know, the continuous influx of foreigners putting pressure on things like housing, COEs, and other things. You know, my friends, there are now 945,000 Malaysians living in Singapore, almost 1/6 of our population of 6 million. You just imagine, and you add to that cauldron the Indians from the subcontinent, the mainland Chinese, the Filipinos, the Myanmars, you know. I mean, there's incredible pressure on things like housing, isn't there? Why do you think that the HDB prices keep rising? Yeah? And you know, the Desmond Lee and all that tries to tell us that HDB is affordable. My friends, we are not fools, all right? We are not 3-year-olds. Yeah? You and I knew what happened after Lawrence Wong increased the GST over 2 years. Suddenly, hawker food prices increased. Drinks increased. The Desi Gosong from 130 became 140, 150, 160. Now in some places it's even 170. Yesterday, I had lunch with a friend at a coffee shop. Coffee shop, yeah? Not the food court. Near Paya Lebar quarters. I had wonton mee. My wonton mee cost me $6. When it used to be, what, $3.50? Maybe $4. It then went up to $4.50, $5, $6 today. My friends, what is the PAP's only solution to all of this? The only solution, Voucher Wong, and that is the moniker Lawrence Wong has attracted, unfortunately, is that of giving out vouchers. Yeah? But my friends, vouchers are not a solution. Vouchers do not bring down the cost of living. And do not expect the PAP to keep giving vouchers forever. All right? That $6 plate of wonton mee is never going to come down to $5. It's never going to come down to $4. When that voucher system stops, you know, it is the middle class and the lower income groups who are going to suffer the most. Do you know that today there are about 845,000 Singaporean workers or workers in the labor market who take home less than $2,400 a month? I have those figures by the good authority of Lim Tean, a PV member who scrutinizes all the figures from MOM every quarter. Yeah. To these people, their life changes a lot when that plate of wonton noodle increases from $4 to $6. Yeah, because their salaries have not increased by 50% in the last few years. You know, my friends, we are ranked together with Zurich, I believe, as the most expensive country in the world. But you know, the average Singaporean salary is half of that of the Swiss salary. And yet our government is forcing us to play on the same field with half the salary the Swiss enjoys. Do you think that is fair? You know, Lawrence Wong can say, you know, hands on our heart, we are doing the best we can to help Singaporeans through this cost of living crisis. No, Lawrence Wong, you are the creator of the problem. In the last few years, like the proverbial drunken sailor, the PAP has been happy to increase prices on essential items. Utilities, water, electricity, transport, ERP, whatever. And you know, when COE prices go up, ERP prices go up, all right, the cost of business goes up. Water price goes up, electricity price goes up, cost of business goes up. And all that eventually filters down to the consumers. Yeah. They were like the proverbial drunken sailor. There was not a hike they did not like. My friends, the opposition have suggested so many solutions on how to bring down the cost of living. Examine what the opposition parties have said. We are not very different in our approach. It is the PAP who refuses to listen. And despite the difficulties of the financial situation, they insist year on year, to increase prices. That is the real reason why many of you are struggling with cost of living today. Thank you.